Welcome everyone to this year's Kranky Geek. We're really excited to have you here. This is probably our biggest event that we've done. We had to actually extend the time a little bit, start in the morning so we can even put even more great content in, and we're really excited about it. To kick things off, let me just make a couple introductions. My name is Chad Hart. Some of you might have seen WebRTC Hacks, a blog I help out with. Also like to introduce Chris Krunka, otherwise known as Kranky. He's the Kranky and Kranky Geek.
He's up the back
in the back. You know, Chris, say hi. You see his picture here. He's hard to miss. I'm sure you'll hear him. All right. And my other colleague over here, Tsahi, who you'll hear a lot more of throughout the day. You've probably seen his blog, Blog Geek Me. If you're on the Twitter, WebRTC Live is our hashtag. And to quickly go over the agenda today, as I said, we have a lot of content, but we got feedback that there was a lot of demand and interest in having a lot more networking and more breaks. So we made sure we put in a decent number of breaks throughout the day. So we're going to have a couple of sessions to start out, have a break, have a 45, 50-minute lunch. And then just a heads up, we have an extra long break during the afternoon because there's probably going to be a fire drill. No need to panic, but you might have to go outside and get some fresh air for a few minutes and then come back in. So we fit this into the schedule. It should be okay. No, please don't panic. Right? And then at the end of the day, we have a nice networking reception with even more food and snacks throughout. So please hang out and stay around for that. So now we got through the agenda a little bit. I did want to talk about WebRTC and why are we here. And I get asked a lot of times, like, how is WebRTC doing? Is WebRTC winning? And there's a couple different ways you can measure the success of a technology, but I think one of the core ways to measure this is are developers using this. And actually, there's a pretty good data set on Google's BigQuery that shows all the GitHub activity. So I recently actually took a look at this. Again, I did this a few years ago for WebRTC Hacks, just to see how much actual active activity is there for WebRTC on GitHub. So it's not a perfect analysis, right? You have to, it works off of search terms. I tried to clean it up, but you see here, actually, it's a pretty good sign, right? Up and to the right. And I really want to emphasize here, these are active, active users or active repos, meaning that there was a code push or some kind of code review that at least had a WebRTC related keyword in it in that given month, right? So it's not, the numbers would be a lot higher if there's just people that maybe forked something and did one push and never touched it again, right? So it's pretty exciting to see WebRTC continue to grow. But then you might question, well, GitHub is one open source repo and it's growing in general. How is WebRTC doing compared to GitHub overall? Now, certainly the scales here are very different. GitHub is massive, but even when you compare it to overall GitHub, it's kept up, and actually you see some bumps there where WebRTC, in terms of active usage, has exceeded GitHub on average. All right, and it continues to go up. So this is pretty exciting. Now, developers is one thing, but at the end of the day, what really matters is users, right, and active users. And Google announced the fifth anniversary of WebRTC last year. I went and took a look to see how many active users WebRTC had versus other voice over IP technologies over that same 5-year span. And you can see, compared to those others, WebRTC just really crushes it. And I really want to point out that this is active, monthly active users that we have here. We'll hear a little bit from Facebook this morning, which is a big chunk of that number. But it's pretty exciting. And there's so much room to grow if you look at terms of the devices that are capable of running WebRTC, which is rapidly becoming almost everything. And there's a few reasons why WebRTC has done so well. One is because it is the newest tech, right? It is the newest technology for voice over IP. I think there's a very, very strong argument to say it's by far the strongest, the best overall for a very wide variety of use cases, right? So it's obvious if you're a developer, you have a new project, you're going to use WebRTC, right? It also helps WebRTC is free, right? It's an open source project. you can go download it and get it, right? There's really no cost to get going other than the knowledge and the amount of time it takes to get going. WebRTC also has this massive community, as I showed just on GitHub, and that's just open source projects, right? There's this massive community now that's coalesced around WebRTC that includes all the major browser vendors and many other developers and devices. And the last key area where WebRTC really has a big differentiator is its barriers to entry. So this started out, WebRTC is a JavaScript, based API, but it's so much more than that. And the barriers to entry now to get going on iOS and Android and any native platform are so much lower and continue to get lower every day. It's very, very easy to get started with WebRTC. And as a result now, you see WebRTC almost everywhere, right? You may not realize how many devices and how many interactions you have. And this goes beyond just the typical person-to-person or communications applications that we use all the time, right? We're talking about home doorbells, intelligent assistant devices, Internet of Things, toys out there, and a whole new variety of elements out there. And really, what gets me more excited, beyond just the consumer, kind of the traditional professional realm, is you see WebRTC starting to penetrate the industrial and more traditional manufacturing and agricultural environments when people are adding video streams and communications into high-end test equipment, into drones for monitoring fields, right, and industrial use cases.
And this brings us to what we're actually going to talk about here today. And we decided to bring a lot of speakers this time. And we're very impressed at the end by the quality and the level of speakers we have. And I'm happy to say that this is probably our largest event yet. And the content is top-notch. So I'd like to first thank our sponsors. Google, who has been our main sponsor for all of these events so far. And then we also have TalkBox, Twilio, and Video, who are core sponsors here. We have two new sponsors with us, Frozen Mountain and VoiceBase. I'd like to thank them all. Without these sponsors, this event wouldn't have been possible, especially with the zero price point that we have, and the fact that everything is later available over YouTube for watch. All of our sponsors are speakers, and on top of these, we've got 6 additional companies that are going to speak today. We're going to start with, but we have the core platform vendors. Out of them, 2 are here. We will have sessions from the WebKit guys on Safari and iOS, and the differences between their implementations and the other implementations that are on the market today. And Google will give us an update of their progress and where we headed for with WebRTC 1.0. We took the time to do a lot of sessions on scaling this time, but we're going to take about different aspects of scaling. Facebook will talk about their challenges and how they meet the scaling problem. With their numbers, it's a huge issue. And what they do in order to experiment and optimize the experience for their users. Peer 5 will do something that we've not done here before. They are going to talk about the data channel and how that is used in scale to support CDNs in peer-to-peer connections. That's going to be very interesting. Video will talk about scaling, and they will take a look at scaling from the point of view of a single session. What does it mean to take a single video call and scale it up to 100 or thousands or more participants, active participants, within the same call? What do you need to do then? And we've got Slack, who will go us and share with us the road that they have taken with WebRTC in the last several years to build their own video group sessions platform. The second part of what we're going to do today is going to deal with machine learning. Machine learning is a trend that is happening now, so we had to have that in our event as well. We can't let others deal with that only. So we looked at where machine learning fits with WebRTC. And we kind of identified 3 key areas. The first one is call optimization with machine learning. And we've got here Emil from Atlassian. He's like a repeat speaker in our event. I think he's here for the 3rd time or 4th time even. And he will talk about what they've done with machine learning to improve the quality of the calls that they have over the GT video bridge. For computer vision, we have 3 different sessions. One comes from Twilio around augmented reality, but taking that into interactions between people and what it means there with a very interesting demo. Talkbox will show how you can understand what content is in the video, so use machine vision in order to improve the video quality at the end of the day without even touching what goes over the network. And then we've got Appearing. They will be in the end of the day. That's another repeat speaker, Philip Haneke, also known as FIPO. And this is a session you don't want to miss. And it's the last session because it's not safe for work. The third and last piece is going to be around speech analytics. For that, we've got Frozen Mountain, who will talk about real-time translation with some cool demos there, done in real time. So I hope you know several languages, because you'll need that to follow through this session. And we have Voice-Based that will talk about NLP, natural language processing, and how do you take that and turn it into intents? How do you guess intents out of that and get that kind of an information? I'd like to thank SFHTML5, which took us under their wing from the beginning, from our first event, and they are still here with us, and they make these events the best we could possibly hope for. Last but not least, your tickets. The price that you paid for the tickets goes to GDI, Girl Develop It. That's a nonprofit organization, and they will be here after lunch to share a bit what they are doing. You can go online to krankygeek.com or directly to that bit.ly link if you want to see the agenda. If you want to find any of the speakers, go to krankygeek.com. You'll see their headshots, and you'll be able to do that in order to hunt them down through the breaks. So I'd like to thank you all and start the day.